Welcome to Warfare Report, your trusted source for in-depth military analysis. Today, we turn our focus to the kinetic opening phase of the January 3rd, 2026 operation in Venezuela, the coordinated explosions and air power campaign that transformed Caracas into a battlefield in a matter of minutes. We will examine in exhaustive detail the critical role of low-flying aircraft, the precision strikes on key military sites, the unique and multifaceted complications posed by dense urban terrain, the integration of advanced platforms across multiple domains, and the broader strategic lessons this phase offers for the evolution of future hybrid warfare in contested megacities. To fully appreciate the scale and sophistication of what unfolded, we must first reconstruct the broader strategic context that led to this decisive moment. By late 2025, the United States had decisively shifted from a strategy centered on economic sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and proxy pressure to one incorporating sustained, overt military action against the Maduro regime. This escalation was driven by long-standing U.S. indictments portraying Maduro and his inner circle as leaders of a narco-terrorist enterprise through the Cartel de los Soles, coupled with repeated Venezuelan provocations, including alleged support for regional destabilization and direct threats to U.S. interests. Months of aggressive naval interdictions in the Caribbean, seizing oil tankers, destroying suspected trafficking vessels, and conducting boarding operations, had already inflicted significant damage on regime revenue streams and military prestige. These actions were accompanied by a visible, deliberate buildup of American forces across the theater. Carrier strike groups, expeditionary marine units, submarine patrols, and forward-deployed air wings. The rhetoric from Washington grew increasingly unambiguous, with President Trump issuing repeated public warnings that failure to relinquish power would invite direct consequences. The air campaign over Caracas was never intended as an independent effort to topple the regime through attrition. Rather, it was meticulously designed as the enabling component, the decisive suppression phase, that would neutralize Venezuela's ability to mount an effective defense against a simultaneous special forces raid targeting Nicolás Maduro himself. Planners understood that without rapid degradation of air defenses, command nodes, and rapid reaction forces, the ground assault element would face unacceptable risk in one of the most densely populated capitals in Latin America. The operation commenced in the pre-dawn darkness of January 3rd, 2026, at approximately 0200 local time. Residents across Caracas awoke to the sudden roar of low-flying aircraft, followed almost immediately by a series of thunderous explosions that shook buildings and shattered the night calm. Open-source reporting and eyewitness accounts documented at least 7 major primary detonations in the opening minutes, with numerous secondary explosions and sustained fires continuing well into daylight. Thick, black smoke columns rose from multiple military installations across the city. Power grids in southern and central districts collapsed under the strain or direct attack, and widespread panic spread as civilians fled into streets already illuminated by burning facilities. These strikes were anything but random or indiscriminate. They represented a carefully sequenced, intelligence-driven campaign designed to achieve 3 interlocking effects: complete suppression of integrated air defenses, comprehensive disruption of command and control networks, and profound psychological shock to both military loyalists and the regime's civilian support base. The target selection demonstrated an exceptionally sophisticated understanding of Venezuelan military infrastructure, its dependencies, and its vulnerabilities after years of sanctions-induced degradation. Primary target sets included La Carlota military airbase in the eastern central district of Caracas, Fuerte Tiuna, the sprawling headquarters complex of the Venezuelan armed forces in the south, and a distributed network of supporting facilities housing early warning radars, surface-to-air missile batteries, communication relay stations, and barracks for elite rapid reaction units. F-22 Raptors, F-35 Lightning IIs, F-A-18 Super Hornets, EA-18 Growlers, and B-1 Lancers were involved in last night's operation against the Venezuelan capital of Caracas, which saw the capture of President Nicolás Maduro. This massive joint air package, exceeding 150 fixed-wing aircraft launched from more than 20 bases and naval platforms across the Western Hemisphere, represented one of the most complex and concentrated air operations conducted by the United States since the opening phases of major 21st century conflicts. F-22 Raptors established immediate air superiority, sweeping ahead of strike packages to ensure no Venezuelan fixed-wing aircraft could launch or pose a threat. Their supercruise capability and unmatched sensor fusion allowed them to dominate the airspace while remaining virtually invisible to remaining ground radars. F-35 Lightning II stealth multi-role fighters formed the backbone of the precision strike effort, delivering advanced munitions such as GBU-39 small-diameter bombs, GBU-53B Stormbreaker glide weapons, and AGM-114 Hellfire variants against hardened and time-sensitive targets. The F-35's distributed aperture system and network data links enabled seamless coordination even in a jammed environment. B-1 Lancer strategic bombers, operating from continental U.S. bases or forward locations, contributed heavy standoff ordnance, likely AGM-158 JAS-SM cruise missiles or JDAM-equipped large penetrators, or deeper, fortified targets such as underground command bunkers at Fuerte Tiuna. FA-18 Super Hornets from carrier air wings provided flexible escort, additional precision strikes, and rapid response to pop-up threats. Navy EA-18G Growlers flew dedicated electronic attack orbits, saturating Venezuelan radar bands and military communication frequencies with high-power noise, effectively blinding remaining sensors and fracturing tactical coordination. Complementing the fixed-wing effort were MQ-9 Reaper unmanned aerial vehicles operating in hunter-killer and intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance roles. These platforms provided persistent overhead coverage, real-time battle damage assessment, and immediate secondary strikes against targets that survived the initial wave or attempted displacement. The most dramatic and visible component, for both defenders and terrified civilians, was the aggressive low-level penetration by rotary wing and tiltrotor aircraft deep inside the urban battle space. AH-1Z Super Cobras attack helicopters, drawn from Marines aviation brigades deployed to the region, flew nap-of-the-earth profiles through Caracas valleys and between high-rise structures. Armed with Hellfire missiles, Hydra 70 rocket pods, and 30mm chain guns, these platforms systematically engage ground-based threats, attempting to interfere with the inbound Special Forces assault package. Modified MH-60 Blackhawks from the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, configured as direct-action penetrators, operated alongside the Apaches, providing dedicated escort and suppressive fire with door-mounted miniguns and additional rocket armament. V-22 Ospreys, leveraging their unique tilt-rotor speed and range advantages, conducted rapid insertion and contingency extraction for assault teams, allowing forces to bypass ground congestion and surface threats entirely. Eyewitness reports, verified social media footage, and regime statements confirm multiple instances of attack helicopters and Ospreys maneuvering aggressively over rooftops and through urban canyons, with visible rocket trails and tracer fire directed at defensive positions surrounding Fuerte Tiuna, La Carlota, and secondary strongpoints. These engagements were precise and deliberate, targeting crew-served weapons, armored vehicle convoys, and barracks housing loyalist militias, rather than area saturation. The dense urban environment of Caracas imposed severe operational complications that U.S. planners had to anticipate and mitigate. Greater Caracas is home to over 6 million residents, packed into a mountainous valley with steep terrain, narrow streets, sprawling informal settlements, and clusters of modern high-rises. This created a profoundly three-dimensional battle space with restricted lines of sight, unpredictable micro-winds, and abundant physical obstacles for low-flying aircraft. Power lines, communication towers, and building protrusions posed constant collision risks for helicopters and Ospreys operating at rooftop level. Precision-guided munitions faced potential guidance interference from urban radar clutter and multipath reflections. Venezuelan forces had deliberately integrated air defense assets, Russian-supplied S-300 long-range systems, Pantsir S-1 point defense batteries, and older man-pads within or immediately adjacent to civilian neighborhoods, calculating that this human shield tactic would deter attack or impose unacceptable political costs. U.S. forces countered through a combination of technological superiority and disciplined rules of engagement. Standoff weapons like JASSM and small-diameter bombs allowed strikes from beyond MANPAD's range. Strict proportionality requirements favored low collateral munitions even at the cost of increased aircrew exposure. The V-22 Osprey's ability to transition rapidly between helicopter and fixed-wing flight profiles provided critical flexibility for repositioning forces away from predicted threat zones. Real-time multi-domain intelligence fusion proved indispensable for navigating these challenges. Embedded Air Force Special Tactics. Combat controllers and joint terminal attack controllers provided eyes-on terminal guidance for danger-close strikes. Overhead Reaper drones, supported by airborne early warning platforms such as E-3 Sentry or E-2 Hawkeye, fed continuous video and electronic intelligence to command nodes. This enabled dynamic retargeting when Venezuelan units attempted to relocate assets or when battle damage assessments revealed surviving capabilities. Hey, if you're finding this tactical breakdown valuable and want to stay on the cutting edge of modern warfare analysis, head over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel, Warfare Report, right now. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload. We're covering every development in this historic operation as it unfolds. Now let us examine the specific target sets and their operational significance in greater depth. La Carlota Military Air Base, strategically positioned in the Eastern Central District, was designated a priority suppression objective. Home to the bulk of Venezuela's remaining operational attack helicopter fleet, transport aircraft, and a major integrated air defense command node, it represented the regime's most credible fixed-wing response capability. Strikes focused on runway cratering with penetrator munitions, destruction of hardened aircraft shelters, fuel storage, and the central radar control facility. By rendering La Carlota combat ineffective within the first wave, planners eliminated any possibility of Venezuelan Air Force interception of inbound U.S. rotary wing and tiltrotor assets. Fuerte Tiuna, spanning hundreds of acres in southern Caracas, presented the most complex and high-value target set. This sprawling complex houses the Ministry of Defense headquarters, multiple brigade command centers, elite unit barracks, secure leadership residences, underground bunkers, and extensive vehicle parks. Intelligence assessed a high probability that Nicolás Maduro was located within or immediately adjacent to this facility during the operation. Strikes here were sequenced for maximum disruption. Initial hits on communication antennas and power substations, followed by precision attacks on known command bunkers and air defense emplacements, and finally, suppression of barracks and motor pools to prevent rapid reaction force mobilization. The dense civilian integration surrounding Fuerte Tiuna demanded extraordinary precision. Weapons such as the GBU-39B small-diameter bomb with its 250-pound focused warhead, GPS-INS guidance, and minimal fragmentation radius were ideally suited to this environment, enabling hard target penetration while constraining collateral damage to acceptable levels. Secondary explosions reported across both primary sites indicate successful strikes on ammunition depots, fuel storage, or parked missile reload vehicles. These follow-on detonations significantly amplified the disruptive effect, destroying additional equipment, inflicting casualties among first responders, and generating sustained fires that further degraded operational capability. The psychological impact of the air campaign cannot be overstated in a regime that has historically relied on visible displays of military power to maintain internal control and deter opposition. The spectacle of prestigious installations burning uncontrollably while advanced U.S. aircraft operated with complete impunity over the capital represented an existential shock to loyalist forces, militias, and the broader Chavista base. Reports indicate sluggish and disorganized mobilization by colectivos and rapid reaction units, hampered by loss of communications, uncertainty about the scope of attack, and fear of additional strikes. Venezuelan integrated air defenses performed disastrously. No confirmed surface-to-air missile launches were recorded against U.S. or coalition aircraft, despite the presence of modern Russian systems. This comprehensive failure stems from multiple converging factors: effective preemptive suppression of enemy air defenses by stealth platforms, overwhelming electronic attack across the spectrum, rapid physical destruction of launchers and radars, an underlying degradation of crew proficiency and equipment readiness due to prolonged sanctions and maintenance shortfalls. This phase of the operation yields several enduring lessons for the conduct of hybrid warfare in urban megacity environments. First, the continuing primacy of layered suppression of enemy air defenses, even against nominally inferior opponents. Modern integrated systems remain lethal when intact. The combination of stealth penetration, standoff precision munitions, dedicated electronic attack, and responsive low-level suppression proved essential for achieving temporary but decisive local air superiority. Second, the indispensable value of true joint and multi-domain integration. Seamless data sharing across space-based assets, unmanned systems, manned fighters, electronic attack platforms, and ground controllers enabled adaptive, real-time targeting that outpaced Venezuelan reactions. Third, the persistent challenge of urban operations at scale. Dense civilian populations and complex physical terrain dramatically increase risk to attackers, non-combatants, and political legitimacy. Success demands advanced weapon selection, rigorous collateral estimation, and rules of engagement that balance tactical necessity with strategic restraint. Fourth, the amplified psychological effects of precision air power against authoritarian regimes. Rapid, visible degradation of symbolic military assets can fracture internal cohesion and accelerate collapse far more efficiently than prolonged conventional campaigns. Fifth, the demonstration that limited, precisely calibrated air power, carefully bounded in scope and duration, can enable decisive ground maneuver with minimal overall force commitment. The Caracas campaign did not seek total destruction of Venezuelan military capacity. It created only the necessary temporary window for special forces to achieve the primary strategic objective. Finally, the operation underscores the maturing convergence of fifth-generation air dominance, networked precision munitions, unmanned persistence, electronic spectrum superiority, and advanced rotary tilt-rotor maneuver in contested urban environments, a template likely to define great power and hybrid conflicts in the coming decades. The events over Caracas on January 3, 2026 will be dissected in staff colleges and wargaming centers for years to come as a benchmark case study in modern joint urban air warfare. The sophisticated integration of F-22 air superiority, F-35 stealth strike, B-1 heavy ordnance, Super Hornet flexibility, Growler electronic dominance, Apache and MH-60 low-level attack, and V-22 rapid vertical maneuver achieved strategic effects vastly disproportionate to the resources committed and the duration of active engagement. This is Warfare Report, delivering clear, authoritative analysis of the most significant military developments of our time. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications, and join the discussion in the comments below. What aspect of this operation was the most advanced? Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay vigilant,